Hey there, what's going on? It is Layla, the Voodoo Vixen, and I'm here to bring you an episode of the Black Opal Series. I call this series the Black Opal because the stone Black Opal is good for protection, mystery, and magic. And this series talks about all of that. Ways to enhance your spiritual abilities, ways to protect yourself, and overall ways to ground yourself. So, with that being said, we're going to get into tonight's episode. And tonight's episode is about dark versus light energy. Now, I know you guys are thinking, oh my goodness, it's always this thing about the energy and blah, blah, blah. But for you to be a better magician, right, you need to understand the difference between the good and the bad. Why? Because both bring balance, and a wise magician always seeks to know thine enemy and to know thine strength. So, with that being said, we're going to get into it. So, I want to talk about where this concept of dark and light comes from, because when it really comes down to it, I've heard multiple people tell me, oh, you're a gray worker because I'm not per se dark and I'm not per se light. But when it really comes down to it, I don't believe or identify with color pronouns for the type of work I do. One, because I don't subscribe to that type of stuff. Don't get me wrong, when I was earlier in my path, I really was into that. But as you develop and understand, it's a different energy. It's a different entity, right? So now, if you believe in the color pronouns for the type of work you do, that doesn't mean anything negative. I'm just talking about my beliefs, right? So I want to, though, further your knowledge on that. Why is it dark? Why is it light? So let's start with where it began. I'm sure you've all heard the concept or understand the concept of yin and yang. It's that circle that has like a black side to it and then a white side to it, and it looks like there's little dots in the middle. It looks like two koi fish, a black fish and a white fish swimming around each other, right? This is where the dark and light energy originates. The dark energy, yin energy, represents the lower vibrational parts of our world, parts of ourselves. So we're talking the darkness, nighttime, cold, the weak. It could be retreating, sleeping. It could be the winter weather, right? And then the white energy, or the light energy, represents yang, and that is the daytime, hot, and it's the summer. It's strong, it's persevering, it's active, it's loud, it's wide awake, right? And this is where the concept of dark and light originates. Now, I would say in this series, the reason I would like to explore this concept is, as I mentioned earlier, to know thine enemy is beneficial, right? You can't protect yourself against something you're completely oblivious and ignorant to. Like, let's be real here. So, I don't look at dark energy in the same way as some modern day magicians, spiritual practitioners. I look at dark energy with a different type of respect. And it's because I simply understand that without the dark energy, the light would not exist. And if we have too much light energy, that's not good energy either, right? And I say that because think of this. If the light represents the summer, the active, the woke, and all of that, sleep deprivation can cause nightmares in your waking life. You will start hallucinating and seeing things after, I think it's 72 hours of no sleep, no rest. And too much sun can cause you to get burnt. You'll end up burnt. You can get a sunstroke. You could get sick, right? So, as I said, I have a different type of respect for this energy. So, when we talk about magic, let's start specifically with dark energy, because everyone likes to start with light energy and then talk about dark energy as if it's some forbidden, terrible, evil foe. And it could be, but that's not what we're talking about in this episode. When we talk about dark energy, as a magician, these things can come off as our dead, our spirits that have been deceased, right? Now, that doesn't mean that those spirits are evil, but when we think of ghosts, poltergeists, things that are of that world, you're talking of a lower vibration of energy. There's a reason that if you're a spiritualist and you've ever taken the time to actually come across or have that encounter with the spirit, you realize that shortly after you might feel drained. You might feel tired. Why? Because they're feeding off of the life in you, the light, that vibrant, awake energy. When we do spiritual work, someone who is a dark magician is someone who is more drawn to the dark arts, demonology, black magic. Black magic is specifically a type of magic that purposely and intently messes with somebody's energy and manipulates it against their free will. Dark energy or black magicians also tend to do more work in the evening or in the night. Whether that's doing work at the crossroads, if you're into voodoo or one of the Afro-Caribbean religions or something like it. Doing work at the crossroads, doing work in the graveyards, things like that. Those are what dark magicians do. And oftentimes they get this negative reputation because all things that happen at night can't be good, right? Well, that's what they say. Not per se true. They are more drawn to the things on this earth that are oftentimes hidden and forgotten. Completely. The things that other people would be too scared to do, they are willing to do it, sometimes for a price. Now, a black magician that doesn't mean they don't have fears or aren't afraid of anything. Sure they do. But they're very comfortable with the things around them that do go bump in the night. They're capable of not only summoning demons and spirits and things like that, they are also capable of everything that a light worker does. They're capable of healing someone. They're capable of bringing fortune. Capable of doing all of that stuff, but of course at a cost. Now, to understand a dark worker and their mentality is a great way to protect yourself against one, or to better understand if you have a friend or perhaps you are one. Dark workers not always are these egotistical Hollywood Disney movie characters that are just crazy for power and control. Not necessarily all the time. Sometimes they are chosen for that path. They are chosen to speak to the dead. They are chosen to deal with the darkness. And oftentimes, if you ask a dark worker or a black magician what got them into everything, they could tell you a little bit about a childhood story. And it could be childhood trauma. And I'm not talking about mommy, daddy issues. That's not what we're talking about here, though it could contribute. I'm talking more like getting grabbed in your sleep, getting dragged, feeling something pinching you, whispering, running past you, wanting to have a sense of control of the constant turmoil that's around you. Because if anyone, especially if you're listening to this, if you're a dark worker or a black magician, You know that spirits don't understand or care about boundaries. They see that you're capable of seeing them. They see that the person is capable of interacting, so they are desperate for some type of reciprocation, like any other human, right? So when it comes down to Black magicians, you can't just look at them all as evil. Everybody serves their purpose in this realm, right? And I guess the best example is somebody has to take out the trash, take it to the dump, right? Somebody has to clean the sewage. Somebody has to do the dirty work no one wants to do because it's necessary to keep balance. A Black magician, for that reason, isn't always evil. Matter of factly, I have a couple of students who are dark workers, and they are probably the nicest people you would ever meet in your life. Take their shirt off of their back and everything. You wouldn't have a simple clue that they're into what they're into. Sure, they wear a lot of black. But if you get the chance to know them and really talk to them, they're completely opposite of what you may initially feel, especially if you're an intuitive. So, a little bit more on dark energy. Dark energy oftentimes, it's the fear, it's the, all of the things creepy, but it also is very peaceful because it is quiet. If you think of the concept of darkness, right? It's very silent, it's very cold, and it makes time move a little bit slower. It's a time when you want to go inside and just cozy up and watch a movie, get comfortable, right? Record a podcast. If you think of the concept of dark, it's very patient. People that do or deal with dark work oftentimes are very patient people. They are not, as I said, these egomaniacs oftentimes that just want to throw all type of hexes and curses and black magic at you. They're patient. They'll wait for the correct time. They'll wait for the appropriate moon cycle, and they'll be patient. And when it's time to clap back, they clap back. Now, another thing when it comes to dark energy that I want to explore and talk about is how it impacts the person that is a target of it. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into curses and hexes because that's another episode. But I do want you guys to understand that when you have someone that's a black magician or a dark worker doing work to you, you have to understand first, what did you do to them to even get on their radar? Secondly, you have to also understand some of the spirits they serve. And I'm going to do another episode on this channel to explain the different spirits and the voodoo loa and stuff like that may or may not apply here. But you got to consider some things. Oftentimes, dark workers get some type of benefit, whether it's self-satisfaction or physically, maybe some money from what they do. Earlier, I had mentioned that a dark worker is capable of healing and manifesting money and all the things that a light worker is. But I want to explore that further. So when it comes to the intent of somebody that is into the darker arts, and we're going to just keep Satan out of this because not today, Satan. That's another night. What I want to explore is the fact of how it works, right? So healing work takes a lot of energy. Oftentimes, that's why they say you need to raise your vibration if you want to get better. You have to get active. You have to exercise. You have to do some things for yourself so that you can heal and get better. And as I mentioned before, dark workers, it's very low vibrational. So how do they heal? Well, they're capable of working with spirits and other energies in general. whether that's the energy of the moon, the energy of the night, things like that, to heal, to assist in healing. I can't even say just to heal, but to assist in healing. And the reason I say it's at a cost, it's not always money, because when you're thinking of someone that is more on the low vibrational side, like their energy moves slower. If you want them to heal someone, it takes more energy than they normally are capable of or desire to use. So they use their resources. That could be spirits, that could be entities, that could be herbs, certain type of evening workings, certain type of spirits to get the job done. Now, those spirits do not do things for free. They want their pay, right? So I guess the best way I could explain it is, if you're going to go to a dark worker, say you're a dark worker yourself and you're interested in exploring that more, the spirits and the entities you work with always are going to want repay. That's why you sometimes hear, oh, I feel better, this person healed me, but I had to do some weird thing like collect some feathers and put them here, or put a couple coins here, or do this, that. What you're doing is you're serving the energy back. And when you don't, those energies that were used to get you better come back tenfold. And I'll be real, most spiritual workers, I don't care if you're dark or light, want to be at the wrath of anyone's energy. It doesn't matter if it's a spirit, a god, goddess, or another human being. Nobody wants to deal with that. So they are sure to make sure whatever you requested comes back to you. So it's very important to consider, what have you done? Not just in the sense of you being a bad person, but what have you requested and what have you done to repay that energy? Okay. So that's more about, like, that's dark energy as a whole. Okay. Now, when it comes down to the evil and the bad and the mean and the angry stuff that comes with darkness, this bitterness, this resentment, this anger, not every spirit and energy dies and passes quietly. Some of them want vengeance. Some of them want revenge. Some of them are angry, right? Maybe in their waking lives, that person was angry, evil, low vibrational, right? And like, if we look at history, or if we consider religion a little bit here, we are told that certain spirits and entities were on this planet well before mankind. I'm sure you guys have heard the whole thing of how the devil and the fallen angels and stuff like that, Christian mythos, how that works. But Christianity is not the only culture or religion that mentioned that certain beings fell to this earth, or certain beings were trapped on this planet before humans come or have come. So whatever resentment, bitterness, or PTSD they got, for sure, they're taking it out on you. So with that being said, you have to really understand that not everybody was a good person. Not every energy or entity was high vibrational, or perhaps they were at one point and became bitter because of the way that they passed, or because of the way they were trapped into whatever. Like, you see how haunted houses or haunted areas, or areas that should be considered sacred, are constantly tampered with. Like, let's think of Egypt and the pyramids, right? Not only did they break into the tombs, because I hope you guys understand that pyramids were tombs. They were people's grave. They were the grave of pharaohs and people that had a lot of honor attached to their name. So when they're like, oh, we went to Egypt, we went into the pyramids, and this is what we found, and we're all fascinated looking at it in a museum and stuff, understand you're looking at somebody's grave that was robbed. you're looking at the results of a robbing, okay? A robbery. Those spirits obviously aren't pretty happy, as you could imagine. And unfortunately, because with human nature, we're constantly meddling and looking into things and wanting to know what is this and what is that and how did this work and how did that work. That's why a lot of what's happening in this world now is happening, because we do not know when we are doing too much. Humankind is by far the most selfish and the most egotistical creature on this planet. We kill other animals, fellow animals, right? We eat them, right? Doesn't matter what the state they were when they were killed, we're still eating them. And because unless you have a farm or something, because we don't know the state that animal was in when it was alive, we're consuming that energy. Same thing with all of the stuff we're digging up underground, things that should have been hidden and long gone. We're sitting here watching them for entertainment on the History Channel. Ancient Aliens. I love that show, by the way. But my point is, dark energy, where's the evil come from? Where's the bitterness coming from? Where's all of that coming from? It's coming from the fact that not everybody is so what I was saying is that this bitterness, this hatred, this evil, oftentimes you'll track it back to the fact that there was some type of a wrongdoing at some point or another. And when that energy dies, or that physical form dies, that energy does not, right? So I'm not specifically talking about black magicians or dark workers. I'm specifically more so talking about the energy that they deal with. It is low vibrational but high pressure energy. It takes, ironically, a very strong person to deal with that type of energy, even though according to yin, it should be a weak person. It takes a strong person to be able to speak to the dead. It takes a strong person to be able to harbor enough hatred and anger to hex and curse and put a generational or legacy long spell upon someone's family. It takes a strong person. And hate to tell you, a lot of times black magicians or dark workers were light at one time, and they just got sick of the BS. So how to protect yourself from this energy, right? Because we do touch on that a little here. And though this episode's not about this, I'm just going on about the different ways the dark energy and the light energy works, what they're about, how they heal, how they don't. But I will talk a little bit about it here for a second, and then we're going to move to light energy. To protect yourself from this type of energy, you have to be very mindful of the karma you build upon self. And that includes generational karma. What was your family like? Don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. Was my grandpa an a-hole? Was my great aunt a good person? Try to find the family secrets. And if you can't, just try to tap in as much as you can and make yourself open to receiving that energy. Or you can go to a psychic medium, something like myself, and they'll be happy to give you some answers. But you have to consider generational karma along with your own, because there's some things that your loving family passed down to you that blacken your soul and make you more liable to those vengeful energies. And then as a person, you have to be mindful of how you're treating not only other people, but the respect you have for this planet, for this universe, for this rock that we live on. I'm not telling you guys to frolic through the woods and be hippies. I'm not saying that you have to do that. But I am saying that you should take some time to put your feet in the grass. And you should take some time to really just say you're grateful for what you have. Raise your vibration and the lower vibrations won't affect you. It's really that simple. Of course, you also have to factor in cleansing, removing those curses and hexes that go generations long, removing the karma you build up from doing crazy things when you were younger, removing the energy you absorb from other people that just keep on venting to you about their problems. All of that can be cleansed. It could be removed. If you can't do it yourself, find you a priestess, find you a worker that is able to help you. It's that simple. Now, let's talk a little bit about light energy. Matter of fact, let's save that for another episode. Until next time. Bye.